The president ramping up the pressure tonight on officials in Georgia to take a harder look at alleged ballot irregularities from last month's presidential election results.
In the recent recount in Georgia, which means nothing because they don't want to check signatures. And if you're not going to check signatures in Georgia, it doesn't work. But we have a Secretary of State and a governor who made it very difficult to check signatures. Why? You'll have to ask them.
Let's get reaction to that and discuss what it all means for next month's crucial Senate runoff elections in Georgia with Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo. Welcome back to you both.
Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
Okay, I want to start with a couple of things. There's been a lot of testimony in these state hearings we watched in Michigan tonight. I've been watching in a number of different states where they've been having these hearings, and people are coming forward. They've had sworn affidavits, even if the hearings aren't under oath. These people have put their name and their signature and their face now to these claims that they're making. We also heard tonight from Jessie Jacobs. We've talked about her before. Tonight was the first time we saw her in Michigan. Here's what she said in her sworn affidavit. I witnessed City of Detroit election workers going over to the voting booths with voters in order to watch them vote and coach them for whom to vote. I was specifically instructed by my supervisor not to ask for a driver's license or any photo ID. I was told to alter information to falsely show that absentee ballots had been received in time to be valid. I estimate that this was done to thousands of ballots. John, as I watched her testify tonight, she was very nervous, but said she was happy to come forward and tell what she said is the truth. And a number of these state reps I don't want to say they harassed her, gave her a bit of a hard time, hinted that she or other witnesses were lying. It didn't seem like a very productive hearing. Where does it go?
Well, first, I don't think this is going to overturn the results in Michigan. I think the election's over. But these are important facts to bring forward for several reasons. First, it's not just a matter of the opinion of Michigan state legislators or even the governor of Michigan. This is also a federal crime. It's a federal crime to try to get people to register under false pretenses. It's a federal crime to conspire and try to help people vote falsely. So even if this doesn't change the outcome of the election, it's important that witnesses like her point out the officials who are potentially breaking federal law, and the Justice Department and the FBI can investigate it. The second thing is, this does have importance for future elections like the ones coming up in Georgia. If there were irregularities in the last election, this can be taken into account by the legislature. It can be publicized. And again, people can be on the watch out in this runoff election to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And there in Georgia, the Secretary of State has 250 different cases they're looking into of potential fraud or mishandling of ballots, other things that could potentially be illegal. Today, he actually presented a number of documents that he said came in from people who got mailings, postcards, things that were asking them to register to vote in an election they may not be eligible to. Some of these went to people out of state, some in state. So they've got a lot of investigations going on in Georgia while we're leading up in these weeks to that runoff on January 5th. Now, tomorrow there is going to be a hearing in Nevada. We're told this is going to be a court hearing under oath, that witnesses will be there presenting their testimony about what they saw. In the meantime, ahead of that, we had this sworn affidavit referred to in the Washington Examiner, their piece, historically strange spike in incomplete Nevada voter files, casinos as home. We're working on trying to get this affidavit independently, but this is what they told the Washington Examiner. It says, in an affidavit filed in another Republican election challenge, a data scientist found a huge surge of incomplete voter registrations in those giving casinos and temporary RV parks as their home or mailing address. She found that in the last presidential election, so 2016, there were 68 voter registrations missing critical data. In 2020, it was 13,372. I mean, Leslie, do you understand why people would have questions that they need answers for about this particular election?
Yeah, but there is a point. I mean, John, you said the election is over. The election is over. And in addition to that, I mean, in 2016, I didn't see Hillary Clinton arguing about states she lost by this margin or even a larger margin. Let's look at some of these. When we talk about Michigan,
Leslie,
for example,
but hold on. She said that there were things that interceded that prevented her from winning that were not legit. There were a number of Democrats who came forward, made allegations about hacking, said that this presidency was never legitimate. There were plenty of people who never accepted 2016. I think we at least have to stipulate that.
Shannon, she picked up the phone and said, congratulations to Donald Trump, and she did concede. One. Two, there were not these number of lawsuits. That I might add, except for one, the president and his legal team have lost all of them. If you look at Jacobs' claim, for example, that's one individual. My concern is how come the other people working with her don't agree with her? And the Wayne County Circuit Chief Judge rejected her, Ms. Jacobs' challenge. In addition, a lot of
other folks though who were in that Detroit county area that we've gotten affidavits from. These are sworn affidavits. Again, there's a pastor, there's a former state attorney. I mean, there are all kinds of people there who are involved that were making similar claims to what she said about what was going on in Detroit. And as for all of the lawsuits, we all remember 2000, and the only one that mattered was the final decision that came from the Supreme Court. And John, the Gore team had been pretty much on a winning streak for the most part up until that final decision, 38 days in.
Well, the interesting thing here is that the Gore and Bush positions are switched here because we have such decentralized systems, because the states are primarily in charge of running the elections and they follow their own schedule of counting the votes and certifying them. They've basically been on Biden's side, and it's actually Trump who's kind of in the position of Gore that's trying to slow it down, trying to challenge it. But he really doesn't have a chance anymore because there's so many states, so many counties. If it had been concentrated as it was in 2000 in one county, one state separated by only 500 votes, this litigation could go on and make a difference. But I think Leslie's right. These cases aren't going to stop this election from getting certified and Vice President Biden winning.
There is a clock ticking. Okay, thank you guys. Good to see you both.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.